Hey, welcome to the We're Better Together podcast. I'm Ian Stevenson.
And I'm Daniel Arduña. We come from different backgrounds, but we're working together. So our goal is to help you navigate being better together in the various sectors of your life by bringing you a once-a-month interview and some stimulating thoughts on the weeks in between.
We hope this podcast keeps you tracking on building something better together, whether it's your marriage, your family, your workplace. We want to serve you. So here's today's episode. Hey, everybody. Great to see you. You know, Christmas is right around the corner. We want to keep encouraging you to do things better together, even as you meet up with your family. You have all these gatherings. So we got a special tune-up for you today, and we're excited that you joined us. We hope this helps you have an even greater Christmas season. And actually, we're going to take a theme that someone has to do with Christmas. So Daniel, tell everyone what we're getting into today.
Yeah, we want to take the opportunity to really dig into this idea of caring for one another, but caring for one another by looking for the needs that need to be met within any of the circles that you are in. And yeah, we're in Christmas season, and certainly there's a theme of gift giving that happens in this time. But before we even maybe look at that aspect, going even deeper to start is how do we provide for each other with the needs that we see in order to be better together? And Ian, I know where I think of immediately is we all just walked through this season of COVID. And certainly there's still some of it around, but right there in the beginning, it was shelves out everywhere, food gone, toilet paper gone, everything gone, people scrambling around for just trying to get the supplies that they're needed, right? And something that I saw within some of the communities around me were people beginning to care for each other's needs. Someone didn't have any toilet paper. Someone didn't have a lot, but they at least had a few, and they were like, hey, I've got some I can share with you. I saw texts being exchanged within our neighborhood and some of our friends of, hey, I found eggs at the store. You need some eggs? Yeah. And we see people exchanging things and providing for each other in that way. It was such a beautiful picture of this idea of caring for each other so that we can be better together. Ian, when you think about your life, can you think of instances in your life where you've encountered this, maybe experienced this, or been a part of this that come to mind for you?
Oh, yeah, so much. Like even through COVID, like you said, when that hit and we were running food distributions in the city, we needed 350 volunteers every day for a run. And we had it. It was no problem because for whatever reason, people were so aware of the needs that were out there, they were willing to show up and help. And that was a beautiful thing. And it did help bring the community together. It helped bring volunteers together from all different churches, businesses, the community, just working together. And it really was a catalytic thing. When you look for the need and you see the need and you live into it with others, it brings people together, you know, in such a powerful way. I think so many times, though, unfortunately, it takes an emergency type of thing, right? Like what we experienced with COVID, but it's a little sad that that's what it takes. Like, you know, all year, as we've been interviewing people, as we've been going through this, one of the themes that we've heard is the need for humility and the need, if you're going to create a better together environment, you have to be humble and think about others, right? And I think that's what this whole need meeting thing is about. It's like getting yourself out of the way and actually thinking about others and the needs that they have. And then when you have that mentality and you lean into it, it can't help but bring more collaboration and more unity. That's kind of what I've experienced and seen. So it's kind of cool we're talking about this as we approach Christmas, though, right? Because this is a time where we do give gifts and we are trying to meet people's needs in certain ways. I think sometimes we just give gifts out of obligation, though, and we don't really look at the needs that might be there. And when we do that, even when we give a Christmas gift, it means more to the individual, right? And draws us closer to them. So I think that's another aspect of this conversation.
Yeah, Ian, as you say that, you think about gift giving even in this season of Christmas. And what comes to mind for me is that even in the gifts that I give to family or friends, it means that I have to know them in some aspect. I've taken the time to get to know even the things that they like. so that when I think about the kind of gifts that I want to give them, it's something that they would enjoy. And I think that same principle too can even be applied to what we were just talking about as well. Hey, if you want to provide for the needs of people, as we've talked throughout this podcast at various times, it takes relationship. It takes intentionality for you to know your neighbors, to know your coworkers, to know your family, to know the people in the various circles of your life, to then be able to identify some of the needs that are there. And I think that even hits at some of that humility. You got to look outside yourself. You're taking the opportunity to get to know others and see those needs that are there. And I've seen beautiful things happen within that on both of these avenues. In the needs, hey, when you get to know some of the people in your life, the small or the big, sometimes you see it's that family of yours that has a child going to school, they need a backpack. And you can provide that. I've seen it in a small way in that way. I've seen it in a bigger sense where someone's in need of a car and someone else has a car that is just sitting around that they're not using, and they've given that to somebody in order to use. They can get to work. They can drop their kids off wherever they need to go. But someone taking the intentionality of knowing that, the same way too, I've seen the beauty of the gift giving when it's intentional. You know the person, you know the things that they like or they need. In this Christmas season, you can see the joy that you can give to them with the intentionality that you've put into thinking about that.
So let's make this real, Daniel. Let's make this real right now. So let's take it to our marriages, right? You want to have a better together marriage, and it's Christmas time. And so many times we can just, give our wife something we haven't really thought too much about. Let's be honest, right? When we do think about it and we lean into it with heart and with intention, and we meet a need or a heartfelt thing there, it brings us closer together, right?
Yes.
But for the most part, I think most husbands, most wives, maybe even, probably not as much as husbands, but most husbands, we just kind of go through the motions. So what we want to stimulate in our listeners today is a better together approach to even how you walk this season out. As Daniel said, look for needs, look for needs in the community, but even look for needs in those close to you. Don't just give a gift for giving a gift's sake. Use it to really draw people in and be more connected in that process. And when you meet a need, it shows the love, and anyone is drawn to that, right? So as we do this tune-up today, that's really what we're hoping. I think we're like 6 days away from Christmas. So maybe some of you are still getting gifts and thinking of needs that you want to meet in the community, in your workplace, at school. People, find a need and meet it with your heart, not just with checking a box.
So good, even to personalize it too. And I think about the ways that not only I've been a part of doing so for others, but people have done that for me. I think there's a couple moves that my wife and I have made from an apartment to another place, or moving out for the first time. And people provided couches, kitchen tables, chairs. And those have been huge things that have then allowed us to have places to sit, allowed us to have a place where other people can come over and sit down and relationships can be built. And it's been so meaningful when people have looked beyond themselves to provide, even in some of those ways where there's been need in my life. I think this season, just to think about, we just talked about giving back again last week in that tune-up as well, or a couple weeks ago. And there's that sense again of just, hey, I've experienced I can also give back in this kind of way by meeting people's needs.
Yeah, as you're sharing there, I was thinking, I run a nonprofit, and I think of all the donors, all the people who have responded to needs that we've shared, needs with the homeless, needs even with our staff and our staffing in order to be able to further this vision. And the ways that people have responded and leaned into that, and now the team and the collaboration and the camaraderie that we have and what happens, there's so many people who give with such heart and such passion, And I think it would be appropriate for us, even on this podcast, to thank those people, because some of you are listening.
Yep.
Some of you are on here, and we want to thank you for how you've lived this out, and just encourage you to keep living it out, because it makes such a difference in so many ways.
Well, Ian, at our 10-minute
Hey,
mark
thanks
here,
so
what
much
we
for
want to
tuning
do
in
to
today. If
leave
there's anything you heard today that
our
was
fellow
helpful
people
to
with is
you,
this.
that you think
As
might
you
be
think
helpful
about
to
this season
somebody
coming up
else,
here in Christmas,
Please
it
like,
doesn't even need to be
subscribe,
Christmas
and share
Day.
this podcast
But
so we
think
can help
about
others be better
the
together.
needs
as
that are
well.
around you. Think about the people in your lives, and where do you see a need, and what need can you meet here in the next week or two for someone, however small, however big. Think about what needs are there, find a need to meet, and then watch and see what happens in being better together in that way. We thank you so much for joining us today. We look forward to jumping in again next week with another tune-up before this year ends. You all have a great Christmas season or holiday season, whatever it is that you're celebrating.
See you next time, everybody.
hey, thanks so much for tuning in today. If there's anything you heard today that was helpful to you, that you think might be helpful to somebody else,
Please like, subscribe, and share this podcast so we can help others be better together as well.